Hello everyone, my name is Simran Kapoor and I warmly welcome you to my channel English Made Easy. Today we are going to discuss a very common topic but a major one, and that is how to think in English. Okay, so this is a very major problem that is faced by so many English learners, that how can we start thinking in English and how can we stop thinking in our own mother tongue. So here are some tips that I have come up with. These will help you to start thinking in English. Okay, so these are not overnight changes. You have to practice them for a quite 10 to 20 days so that you can start developing this capability of thinking in English. All right, so here are two important factors that will help you to start thinking in English. These are listening and speaking English. So you need to listen to English as much as you can. Okay, whatever you are listening, just stop listening that in your native language and start listening everything in English. Whether these are movies, whether these are web series, whether these are your news channels, whether these are your TV serials or any TV channel, you have to just switch your own native language with the English, because your mind is completely equipped with your native language and it doesn't have even a single stuff or single thing about the other language. Okay, maybe you are a Hindi speaker or a Malayalam speaker, or you speak any other language, maybe Chinese or Russian. You just know your language in your head. You don't know anything about the other language. So to start thinking, and so in order to think in that language, you have to feel some input in your head. And how do you do that? You do that by listening to it, and you do that by speaking. Okay, so the more you listen, the more you speak, and as soon as you speak, you start framing sentences. And when you frame sentences, you tend to stuck at some point of time, and that's the time when you go to the Google and you search for the words and you search how to translate your own native language word in the English language. All right, so the more you speak, the more you will search, and the more you will start forming sentences, and the more you will start to think in English. So here comes the tip number one. So the tip number one is you have to start conversating English as much as you can. Start conversating in English with your friends, with your family members. If you are not comfortable with your friends and your family members and you think they will laugh at you, let them laugh at you, because they will laugh at you only for those 10 to 20 days. Okay, and then they will stop doing that, because then you will be a better version of who you are right now, and after 20 days. Okay, so in the initial 10 to 20 days, the people will laugh at you, and you will have to adjust to them. This is, you have to form in your mind. It's obvious. If not on your face, then at your back they will talk about you, but it's nothing to be to give a thought about. Okay, so let them speak about you, adjust with them for those 10 to 15 days, and after 15 days the people will adjust according to you. Keep this in mind. All right, and you will be an ace in your work, in your speaking, in your thinking in English. All right, so just start conversating in English. In case you are too much shy about speaking in English with your friends, family, colleagues, they are making they are making you depressed, and they are making you feel so low. So what you can do is, wherever you find yourself alone, you just use a mobile phone, open up the camera and start recording yourself. Okay, now what you will record, you have to record about what happened throughout the day in English language, not in your mother tongue, not in your native language, okay, which you are speaking. You have to start briefing up the complete day in English language. Or if you don't like to brief up the day, you can brief up any good event that happened or any bad event that happened, and how can you prove that in English language. All right, so the first step is you have to start conversating in English, either to yourself all the time or with the people around you who you can talk with. Now here we come up with our tip number two. So tip number two is you have to read, you have to write English. Okay, you have to read English as much as you can, wherever you find it. You are going somewhere, you're going to the market, and you read some hoardings there in English. So you have to read each and every stuff in English. Okay, wherever you go, you have to read everything English, whether that's a newspaper, whether that's any book. Now at the end of the day, when you're free, now what you do is, whatever you read throughout the day, just write it down on a piece of paper in your own framing. Just frame your sentences from your mind, and then start writing down about what you read in the newspaper, what you read in the book. Just brief of all the things. And when you do this practice for 10 minutes every day, bet me, you would start thinking only in English when you start to speak in English. We want to think in English when we are, speaking in English, because when we speak, we are lacking words, and words do not come to our mind because we are not inputting anything in our mind. So this is a very good practice that you can follow every day for 15 days, 10 minutes. Let's read English wherever you find it. Read. If you do not find it around you, just work hard to get that language in touch with you. Buy a newspaper or watch out some news channels, read out the headlines there, all right, or read out some news in English, or read out about the entertainment part, whatever interests you in English language. All right, so you have to do this thing for at least 15 days, 10 minutes every day, and then at the end of the day you have to just brave out all these things. So this tip will help you to start thinking in English, and it will stop your brain to come up with your own native language. So your brain will block your native language, and it will just form the sentences in English in your mind, and you will start to think in English language. All right, so this is a very useful tip that you should follow. Now with this, we come to our tip number 3, and that is, you must listen to English. Okay, so listening English is very important. Listen to the to the movies, or to any web series, to any videos on the YouTube in English language. The more you take in the input of the English, the more you start to think in English. All right, so here we come with our tip number 4, and that is, you have to use the objects around you, the situations or the events around you, or the people around you, to start forming sentences in English. Okay, wherever you are. Suppose I'm here and suppose if I have a pen with me, I don't have it currently. Suppose if I have a pen with me, so I would form some sentences like, this is a pen, this is black in color, or the top or the bottom of the pen is blue in color. When I remove the cover, it looks so sleek, so thin, and it writes so smoothly. So use the objects around you to form some sentences. When you start forming some sentences and you start speaking to yourself in English, you will start to think in English, because you are all the time in touch with the language, and that language is also becoming a part of your head, of your brain, and of your thinking process. All right, so you can also use the situations or the events around you. Suppose you go to the market and you go to any shop to buy something. You found a person there. The person is bargaining too much. So you can start forming some sentences in your mind, and you can talk to yourself inside of you, and you can form some sentences as, she is bargaining too much. She is speaking too loud. The product is so cheap, still she is bargaining. All right, so you can form some sentences using the situations around you, the people around you, and the objects around you in your mind, inside of you. Okay, if not talking to anybody else. So when you start forming the things inside your mind, and when you're thinking about them, obviously your brain will start to function that way, and will start to think in English language. And this is how you'll start adding more and more English into your brain, and in your words, and in your speaking, and this is how you will start to think in English. All right, now tip number 5 is that you need to learn some basic English words. Basic English words like, if I use some words like, spoil, amazing, spill, remarkable, massive, huge. So you need to learn these are very basic English words that we normally use in our English language on a daily basis. For example, you taste any food and it is very good at taste, so you can say the food is so delicious. All right, in spite of saying the food is so tasty, that's very basic. You can say the food is so delicious. Or if you something of your things get damaged, so you can say, you spoiled my book. Okay, or you spoiled my top, you spoiled my handbag. Okay, so these are some basic words that you need to learn, so that your brain is already thinking about them, and as soon as those situations arise, you can speak out them from your mouth. So these were the top 5 tips that I wanted to share with you, because I can easily resonate with how problematic it is when we are not able to think in English. Okay, when I was also learning English, this was also the problem with me. So these were the tips that I used, and I am sharing with you guys so that you can ace this problem too. Okay, so that's all for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the tips shared with you. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon.